Like and subscribe right now, or this spider is gonna crawl on your face while you're sleeping. 10 mythical sea creatures that might be real. Whether they were real or legends, stories about sea monsters have always captured our imagination. For centuries, folks from around the world have revered the seas and rivers as primary sources of food and water, but in their traditions, they've often referred to them as places where horrifying monsters lurk for their next victims. Each culture and civilization have their own legends and mythological creatures. All of these creatures are mysterious and amazing in their own way. These creatures have both fascinated and terrified the minds of humans, and it is probably one of the reasons why the stories have endured the test of time and lived through the ages. While modern-day humans are quick enough to shrug off any possibility of truth associated with the beasts of our ancestors, we need to tell you, there is always some truth with these tales and horrifying stories. We can talk about numerous mythological creatures starting from figures that humans have seen as gods to terrifying monsters that haunted sailors. However, today we'll take a look at some of the stories that have been passed down through centuries that might hold some truth to them. Number 10. Vadianoi. Vadianoi is a water-dwelling spirit that lives in rivers, ponds, and streams. According to the East Slavic tradition, Vadianoi is best described as a male creature with a flat, flabby body, wide face covered with greenish hair, and a long green beard that stretches down to his feet. For a long time, Vadianoi has been blamed for drowning villagers and causing floods. He was also blamed for attracting and kidnapping young girls by disguising as a beautiful flower on the river's shore. Once he captured them, he took them to a kingdom for his kind, where he forced them to marry him and serve him. The Slavic tradition held that Vadianoi originated from the spirit of an unbaptized man or a man who committed suicide. Therefore, he is known to be afraid of saint waters. To get rid of him, people blessed the rivers or ponds where he appeared, forcing him to leave. Fishermen, on the other hand, respected him and offered him tobacco as a gift in exchange for good fish. Before we move on, I've got a challenge for you that will only take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. Leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And boom, 25 years of amazing luck. Try it! It really works. Number 9. The Sea Bishop. According to one legend, the Sea Bishop, also called Bishop Fish, was a sea monster that was caught off the coast of Poland in 1531. The creature died a few days later after refusing to eat. In another legend, a similar creature was captured alive in a fishing net in the 13th century. When it was taken to the King of Poland, the Sea Bishop begged to be set free. After being released, it made the sign of the cross, which probably inspired his name, before diving back into the sea. It is thought that the Sea Bishop's legend might have been inspired from a real sea creature, known as the giant squid. The giant squid was first spotted by a ship crew near the Canary Islands in November 1861. It was described as a creature with a long tail and many arms, or tentacles. Above all, it had an elliptical-shaped head that bears a striking similarity to a bishop's hat. However, let's not be so quick to brush this off our shoulders, for the stories related to this creature and that of a giant squid hardly match. What if the Sea Bishop is still around? Number 8. Ambibi. Ambibi appeared in the Japanese legend during the Edo era, when the Japanese population was dominated by agricultural societies. During this era, it is said that Ambibi appeared to people whom she prophesied about good harvest or imminent epidemic. In one story, a city administrator went to investigate a shiny object that appeared from the surface of the sea. When he arrived at the coast, Ambibi appeared to him. Her body was that of a fish with scales covering all of her skin. After identifying herself, Ambibi prophesied, saying that a good harvest would continue for 6 years, starting from that current year. She then told the man that if disease spread, he shall show a picture of her to all those who are ill, and they will become cured. Number 7. Each Wissage. Each Wissage is a vicious, water-dwelling spirit that is said to inhabit the lakes and seas of the Scottish Highlands. It is capable of shape-shifting and taking the form of a normal horse or that of a handsome man. When it's in a horse form, the each usage will encourage a human to ride it. The rider will be fine as long as he stays away from a lake or sea. But as soon as the creature can sense the water of a nearby lake or sea, it will bind itself to a rider and swim to the deepest part of that lake or sea. After the rider drowns, each Wissage will tear him apart and devour his entire body, except for the liver, which floats to the surface. When it's in a human form, each Wissage can only be recognized as a monster from the seaweed hidden in his hair. Number 6. Umibozu. The combination of a calm sea and good weather is, without a doubt, an everyday wish for sailors. However, according to Japanese folklore, a calm sea might be the last thing a Japanese sailor would wish for. The Umibozu. Feared by many, the Umibozu is a large sea monster that, without warning, emerges from the sea surface and destroys any nearby ship by either smashing its hull or capsizing it. Before it appears, it infuriates the sea waves and weather conditions, creating the most horrific circumstances for its victim. The legend describes Umibozu as a humanoid giant with a body that consists of black skin and a big head with a pair of huge eyes. Occasionally, instead of smashing or capsizing the ship, Umibozu demands a barrel from its crew. It then uses the barrel to pour water back onto the ship's deck, sinking it. However, if the crew members were cunning enough, they would give him a barrel without a bottom. Then, the Umibozu would scoop and scoop and scoop with no effect, and the sailors would have a chance to run or swim for their lives. Number 5. Finnfolk. In the Orkney folklore, Finnfolk were dark and gloomy sorcerers that were notable for their shape-shifting abilities, along with numerous other abilities and skills. They inhabited a luxurious city called Finnfolkahim that was said to be located at the bottom of the sea. They were amphibious creatures that ventured between their undersea realm and the human world wherever they pleased. For centuries, Finnfolk had a reputation for abducting humans. They transport captives to their hidden island homes, where they force them to become a wife or husband for one of their own. The unfortunate humans remain there for the rest of their lives, performing domestic duties. Finnfolk are no longer seen in the Orkney Islands. Local people believe that their disappearance was blamed on the arrival of Christianity to that part of the world. Number 4. Arfnack. Arfnack is a lake monster, mentioned in Welsh mythology. It is described variously as a creature that takes the form of a crocodile, giant beaver, or dwarf. The Arfnack was said to prey on anyone who fell or dared to enter its waters. One legend says that the violent thrashings of the Arfnack had caused massive flooding, which drowned all of the people in Britain. Another, more popular legend tells about a maiden who tamed the Arfnack by letting it sleep on her lap. She then called upon her fellow villagers to capture the creature and bound it in chains while it remained on her lap. When the Arfnack awoke, it crushed the girl with its wild thrashings while struggling to free itself. Later legends had King Arthur slaying the monster near Llyn Barfog, a rock with a hoofprint carved into it, along with the words Carn March Arthur, which translates to Stone of Arthur's Horse, supposedly made when his steed dragged the Arfnack from the deep. Number 3. Melusine. According to the European folklore, Melusine is a mermaid-like creature with the upper body of a woman and the lower body of a fish or serpent. Unlike ordinary mermaids, Melusine's lower body consists of 2 tails. She's said to be found in freshwater, such as springs and streams. In folklore, Melusine was the name of a water fairy who fell in love with Prince Raymond, the son of a count. Raymond is said to have found Melusine in the forest during a hunting trip. The couple fell in love the same day, and Raymond asked Melusine to marry him. She agreed, but under the condition that he would never enter her room on Saturdays. Raymond agreed, and they lived together in his palace, where Melusine bore him several children. Each of the children was born with a deformity. Nonetheless, each child grew to be a great warrior or hero. After several years, Raymond became suspicious of Melusine's weekly seclusion and decided to take a peek into her room. He then saw her in the bath in her half-serpent form. The moment she noticed him, she jumped out of the window and disappeared into the night. Since then, she is said to appear hovering over the palace as an omen of death for one of her descendants. Number 2. Baya. Baya is described in Melanesian mythology as a large eel-like creature that lives in the bottom of freshwater lakes in the Fiji, Solomon, and Vanuatu Islands. The legend says that Baya considers all of the creatures in the lake its own children. Therefore, it kills anyone who attempts to harm or disturb them. In one legend, a man discovered a lake abundant with fish. However, the man was unaware that at the bottom of the lake lived the extremely protective Baya. He caught so many fish that he returned the next day with the people of his village, whom he had told of his discovery. The people participated in the fishing until one woman accidentally captured the Baya, who managed to escape. The Baya became furious at what happened to the fish. He retaliated by causing a great rain to fall during the night. The rain caused the waters of the lake to rise, flooding the village and drowning all the people, except one old woman who had not eaten any of the fish. Before we unveil our top pick, we would like to thank Inkit Joshi from India for sending us today's thumbnail. So, without further delay, number 1, Yakuruna. In the Amazon legends, Yakuruna are water-dwelling people who resemble human beings. They are often described as hairy creatures with deformed feet and heads turned backwards. Occasionally, the Yakuruna are accompanied by other creatures such as serpents or crocodiles. They live in beautiful underwater cities where they build fancy crystal palaces. Some legends say that the reflections of human cities on the water surfaces are in fact Yakuruna cities. Just like the Finnfolk, the Yakuruna are notorious for abducting humans, women particularly, whom they take as brides. The abducted people will gradually transform into Yakuruna, starting with their eyes, heads, and then the rest of their bodies. One story tells of a young girl who was captured by the Yakuruna while she was swimming. The Yakuruna had actually transformed himself into a pink dolphin to lure her in. She was then dragged under the water and disappeared. In this case, she reappeared a year later, but in the form of a mermaid. While she was held captive, she married a Yakuruna and learned to become a healer. Yakuruna are said to be able to heal sick people. When someone is sick, the village shaman often calls to the Yakuruna for his assistance in the healing process. And this practice still lives on today, with tribes living in the Amazons. Want to find out more about this mythical creature? Plan a trip to the Amazon and ask the elders about the Yakuruna, and certainly you will find more.